Hey everyone, it's Narelle from Threadistry, and today I'm going to show you how to make a pot holder or a hot pad. It's a really simple and easy project that's just perfect for beginners. So what you'll need is a backing fabric, a fabric for the front. Now this can be a quilt block like I've used here. It can be just scraps of fabric thrown together, or it can just be two pieces of fabric just like the backing. Then you'll also need either a piece of batting. It's important that it's made from natural fibre. Because you're going to be using this to hold hot stuff coming out of the oven, you want to make sure that it won't melt. So a cotton batting is perfect. Bamboo would also work. And me being thrifty, this is what my mother always did. I'm actually using a piece of old towel that I've just cut. And now, the last thing you'll need is where the magic is. It looks like batting, but it is actually Insul Bright needled insulated lining. So this is something that actually repels heat. And inside it has basically like foil, so it's like mylar, it's mylar. And this will stop the heat transferring and you burning your hand. So that's Insul Bright. You want your hot pad to be a bit bigger than your hand. I think 10 inches is generally a good size, so 25 centimetres. This block is not quite square just because of the nature of this picture in the middle, but it comes down to it doesn't really matter what size you pick. So I've got my front, I've got my backing, which is a little bit bigger than the front piece. This is just to make it a little bit easier to quilt all the pieces together. We'll start with the backing material. We will place the toweling on top of that. And then the Insul Bright on top of that. And lastly, the top. So you can see that all my layers are slightly bigger than the front. Once again, that is just for ease. So we'll grab some wonder clips and we will just pin or clip all those layers together. Now what we're going to do is quilt these. So that basically just means sewing through all of the layers so that all the layers get joined together. You can do this any way you want. So you can do lines, you can do swirls, pebbling, you can just do straight lines, you can do corner to corner. It really is up to you. This is a chance to show your flair. You could follow some of the pattern, or you can just follow the lines. So for me today, I think I'm just going to do some following of the lines. So here we have our quilted quilt block or pot holder block. Now we'll trim off the edges, make this nice and square and much easier to bind. And this is always a challenge for a rotary cutter blade. So the next step is bind the edges. What we're actually going to do is bind from the back. So what we'll do is we'll line up the end with that corner. We'll clip this in place along this side. So we're going to sew along the first crease in the bias tape, and we're going to stop the same distance away as the crease from this end. So we'll stop about there. And then to turn the corner, we will fold this on a 45-degree angle, like so, and then we'll fold that back down and start sewing the next side once again from that crease distance away from the edge. But I'll show you that in more detail when we get to the machine. And we'll sew all the way around, and then to create our loop we'll actually leave some extra bias tape at the end, and we'll use that to create a loop on the corner. So let's take this to the machine. So I've already switched the thread over on my sewing machine to a black to match my binding. Now that's entirely up to you. And I'm going to be sewing right in the crease of the bias tape, the bias binding. And just do a locking stitch to start with. Okay, so as we approach this corner, I'll stop right about there where it's nice and square. I'm going to do another locking stitch. Going to have to do a locking stitch or a reverse, or you can leave it, it probably won't come undone. But I like to be extra careful. And so I will fold that up on a 45-degree angle, and then fold it back down. And I'll start sewing just a little bit away from that corner. Now if you want, you can go through and clip or pin this into place. I'll just line it up as I go. And once again, sewing down this side along that crease and fold in my double fold bias tape. And that locking stitch. Okay. Doing a locking stitch. And once again, folding. Folding up on that 45-degree angle and then back down. And starting just away from that corner. Okay, let's do that final corner. Fold on the diagonal and up. And back down. Okay, as we're getting to the end, I'm just pulling that first bit of bias tape out of the way, and I'm going to stop just as I hit that the edge of the bias tape. I don't want to continue on over the top of the other bias tape. So here we are with our bias tape attached to the wrong side, or the back side of the pot holder. First I'll leave enough for this loop and then cut the excess bias tape off, and we'll flip it over. You can see the stitching there, and we'll roll the bias tape forward, and we want it to cover that line of stitching that we have just done. Give it a little bit of a stretch and a pull if you need to. And this is one of those times when it's good to use lots of clips to hold everything in place. For the corner, I try to create a nice a nice diagonal. And I won't clip all the way to that corner because I want to start sewing from underneath here, and then when I get to it I'll wrap that around the end. I'll continue sewing to sew the loop closed, and then lastly, after that's all sewn, I'll loop this under and stitch in place. So let's take it to the sewing machine. So sewing from the right side, I'm just going to sew as close to that edge as I can. I've got my loop out of the way, and I'll start with the locking stitch. So I put the needle down, lift the foot up, and turn this around, and sew down the next side. And as I get to this end, I make sure that end is nicely wrapped, and then I'm going to sew straight to the end of my loop. That's thread tucked under. And so the last step is to just fold under a small amount, fold under a small amount, loop it back, and just do a little box stitch in place. Just tuck those threads in. I find this is too small and fiddly to pin, so I'll just get it in the right spot under. Just do a quick locking stitch. because there's so many layers. You might need to encourage your fabric a bit. Which way am I going? And I'll just lock that last stitch. And there we have our finished pot holder.